The big dig this Monday night, from Canada's biggest city to the Atlantic.
If you got to go somewhere, be careful.
The records shattered, the dangerous power outages, and the good deed in this frigid weather that will warm your heart. The federal government targets affordability, what a boost to the GST credit means for your wallet.
Many Canadians are feeling the pressures.
And how the Prime Minister is responding to the U.S. President's latest insult. And Minnesota in mourning.
Say his name, Alex Pretti.
The pleas to end ICE operations in that state and the mounting backlash against the White House. Heather Yourex-West is in Minneapolis tonight.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Snowplows and shovelers are getting a workout in Toronto after the biggest single-day snowfall since record-keeping began. 56 centimeters fell downtown, making this the snowiest January of all time in that city. Good evening and thanks for joining us. That same system blanketed southern Ontario, Quebec, and parts of Atlantic Canada, causing travel havoc for millions. In many parts of the country, roads are treacherous as plows struggle to keep up. Classes were cancelled in schools in southern Ontario, parts of Quebec, and most of Nova Scotia, and hundreds of flights never got off the ground, disrupting the travel of tens of thousands of people. Heidi Petracek has our top story tonight. Heidi.
Donna, the dumping of snow that hit the Greater Toronto area has meant a snow day for students and a busy day for plows. There are widespread effects throughout eastern Canada, and yellow warnings for snowfall are still in effect for some. Then there's the serious concern over power outages and the frigid temperatures in Quebec.
The wind chill made it feel like -20 in Montreal, bitterly cold, particularly for those without power.
We fortunately were able to find friends elsewhere in the city that we could stay with to stay warm.
15,000 addresses lost electricity in the city Saturday. Hydro-Quebec working to fix an equipment failure behind persistent outages in Côte-Saint-Luc. Power outages dangerous in freezing temperatures. 2 deaths have been reported in the cold weather. A 66-year-old found dead in her home Sunday, and this man's 87-year-old wife who had been rushed to hospital.
I got the call this morning that she passed away in the night.
Neighbors since helping him out of his frigid home. Lines are long at airports after hundreds of flight cancellations. Passengers hoping to get back in the air as airlines try to recover.
It wasn't ideal after a long weekend of a hockey tournament, but we're okay with it as long as we get out today.
With the way the weather is, you can't change that, and things still happen, so you just make the best of it.
In the Maritimes, the snowstorm moved in overnight Sunday into Monday. Snowfall warnings will have residents shoveling through Tuesday.
If you got to go somewhere, be careful. Make sure your snow tires are on, all that. Otherwise, get yourself some snacks and bundle up.
In Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and Labrador, power utilities asked residents to conserve electricity over the weekend. Those requests since lifted as the storm churns east.
Newfoundland next in line, starting early Tuesday, continuing throughout the day, 15 to 25 centimeters expected.
That means anyone traveling in that direction should keep an eye on weather conditions because this storm system isn't done with us yet. Donna.
All right, Heidi Petracek in Mississauga, Ontario, thanks. A huge swath of the U.S. is also engulfed in frigid temperatures and heavy snow. More than 200 million Americans are under weather warnings from Texas all the way to New Jersey. The storm is being linked to at least 20 deaths and has caused power outages for almost 1 million people. It's disrupted travel for millions more. At least 10,000 flights in the U.S. have been canceled. Schools are closed and roads across many states are treacherous. The snow is expected to ease tonight, but the cold snap is expected to persist throughout the week, and another significant snowstorm is forecast for the eastern U.S. this weekend. It is back to work in Canada's House of Commons, and after his travels outside the country, today the Prime Minister focused on affordability for Canadians at home. The government is boosting the GST tax credit to help offset the high cost of groceries. Mackenzie Gray explains what's planned and who will benefit and what difference it could make.
Good morning. The Prime Minister shopping for support on a core political issue.
Starting this year, we're taking the existing GST credit amount and raising it by 25% for 5 years.
also promised a one-time 50% top-up to the GST tax credit. It's a means-tested benefit, so not everyone will get a check, but millions will, with a family of 4 potentially getting as much as an additional $780 this year.
These payments make up for the higher level of food prices since the pandemic.
The Liberals so concerned about those costs, price tags weren't put up during the Prime Minister's press conference, quickly returning them once Mark Carney left. Affordability now Canadians' top political concern, issues along with immigration and crime that the Conservatives believe they can capitalize on.
Canadians deserve affordable groceries, but under this Prime Minister's watch, food price inflation is the highest in the G7.
Carney not responding, skipping the first question period after the winter break, leaving it to his House Leader to punch back.
We are telling Mr. Poilievre, get out of the way, free your MPs to vote for this legislation that will deal with crime in Canadian communities.
Legislation is starting to pile up, including November's budget, which is yet to pass the House of Commons, leading some opposition MPs to wonder if the Liberals might prefer to head to the polls.
When you increase the tax credit for the GST, it looks like you want to send money to the people, so maybe he's thinking about it.
New polling numbers show the Liberals in a strong position, with Carney hitting a new record high in approval rating after his Davos speech, a whopping 48 points ahead of Pierre Poilievre. And a new liaison poll has the Liberals up 8 points over the Conservatives, verging on majority territory. But Carney dismissed the idea of calling a snap election.
Well, of course we're not. We're not. We're focused on results for Canadians. We're working through parliaments to get results for Canadians.
The cost of the new measures, $12 billion over 5 years, including $650 million for a new national food security strategy and a new food security fund, Donna. But neither the Prime Minister's office nor the Finance Department could give any concrete details on how this $650 million will be spent.
Okay, and Mackenzie, the Prime Minister was asked about President Trump's latest insult over the weekend. Trump called Mark Carney governor and threatened more tariffs. What's Carney's response?
Well, he really brushed it off, Donna, when he was asked about it, saying he gets called a lot of things all the time. And he actually did used to be called governor when he was the Bank of Canada and Bank of England governor. So he is used to that. And he seemed to be similarly dismissive of Donald Trump's 100% tariff threat over Canada's trade deals with China, which currently actually tied to the upcoming renegotiation of the Canada-US-Mexico free trade deal.
It'll be a robust review, is the expectation. The president is a strong negotiator, and I think some of these comments and positioning should be viewed in the broader context of that.
Talks on the free trade deal were supposed to start in mid-January with the Canada-US trade minister scheduled to head to Washington, but that never happened, Donna. Instead, Dominic LeBlanc told reporters today he would meet with the top American negotiator in the coming weeks.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thanks. The Prime Minister missed the return of Parliament to instead spend some time with Ontario's Premier. Doug Ford has criticized Mark Carney's agreement with China to allow a limited number of Chinese electric vehicles into Canada. Today, Ford seemed to change his tone and called the meeting productive.
We're a big family. And, sometimes brothers and sisters may disagree, but at the end of the day, make no mistake about it, we are one country. We're Team Canada, both of us.
The two had some pizza together in Toronto, and Ford thanked the federal government for coming up with a yet-to-be-unveiled auto strategy that Ford says Ontario will be a part of. They'll meet again later this week when Carney hosts the First Ministers in Ottawa. There is some sad news about a former federal cabinet minister and Liberal MP. Kirsty Duncan has died. She was Minister for Science and Sport under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who posted today, Kirsty was curious, generous, and deeply committed to helping others. She believed in knowledge, compassion, and service, and she brought those values into every conversation and every fight she took on. Duncan represented the Ontario riding of Etobicoke North from 2008 to 2025. She was 59. She took medical leave in 2023 after being diagnosed with cancer. Ryan Wedding, the Canadian accused of running an international drug trafficking ring, made his first court appearance in the U.S. today. The 44-year-old pleaded not guilty to all charges. It's alleged he worked with Mexico's Sinaloa cartel to move cocaine from Colombia through Mexico and into the U.S. and Canada. He's also accused of orchestrating several murders. Wedding turned himself in at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City last week. He was taken into FBI custody and flown to Southern California for his trial. Now to Minnesota and the growing anger after federal immigration agents fatally shot a second U.S. citizen in Minneapolis this weekend. Multiple American media outlets are reporting Senior Border Control Commander Greg Bovino, who has been at the center of the aggressive immigration enforcement, is being demoted and will leave Minneapolis. He's been the public face of the crackdown and defended both shootings, even though eyewitness video of the killings run counter to many official statements. Jackson Prosco reports on how the Trump administration may be softening its stance.
As Minneapolis simmers with rage over the shooting of Alex Pretti, the White House is walking an increasingly fine line.
This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota.
Though still casting blame, President Donald Trump seems to be acknowledging the need to change course, dispatching border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis to oversee immigration enforcement, while backing away from initial claims the shooting victim was a domestic terrorist.
He was there to perpetuate violence.
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Pretti in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts and the investigation lead itself.
Monday brought a phone call between Trump and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Trump says Walz asked to work together, adding it was a very good call and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. Walz says he asked Trump to reduce the number of federal agents in the state and made the case for an impartial investigation into Pretti's death.
The federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period.
Federal officials are said to be reviewing body camera video from agents involved in the shooting. It's not known whether that video will ever be made public or if the agents will face disciplinary action or criminal charges. It may be too late for the White House to save face. A leading Republican candidate for governor of Minnesota abruptly ended his campaign, blaming Trump's increasingly unpopular approach to immigration.
I cannot support the National Republican's stated retribution on the citizens of our state, nor can I count myself a member of a party that would do so.
And now a growing number of lawmakers here in Washington warn they will not support any government spending bill that includes funding for ICE. That could lead to yet another shutdown of the U.S. government as early as Friday, unless the White House makes major concessions. Donna?
All right, Jackson in Washington, thank you. The state of Minnesota is looking to the courts for help. The Attorney General there has asked a federal judge to step in and temporarily halt the operations of ICE in Minnesota. At the same time, the anger on the streets has not diminished. Heather Yourex-West is in Minneapolis tonight. Heather.
Donna, this is a city that has been thrown into an emotional turmoil for almost 2 months, with exhausted residents anxious to see things calm down.
More signs of anger in a city rubbed raw, a hotel vandalized with graffiti and broken windows after another protest Sunday against the presence and tactics of ICE. At another hotel, video shows security forces using smoke bombs. The streets of Minneapolis, the reluctant hosts now to near constant chaotic scenes.
They tell us, and this is their words, this is the single largest deployment of immigration officers in one place at one time, in a state that is not even in the top of immigration.
At a hearing in a Minneapolis courtroom, the state's attorney general asked a federal judge to temporarily halt the immigration crackdown known as Operation Metro Surge that's been underway in the state since December 1st. Judge Catherine Menendez said there would be no decision right away, promising to take the time necessary to get the final ruling right. While they wait for that, residents add to a growing memorial where Alex Pretti was killed on Saturday. In bitterly cold temperatures, mourners say it felt important to visit and pay their respects.
I just think this is like what the Twin Cities is about. You know, it's just this like warmest of souls on the coldest of days, consistently showing up for one another.
And I think it's so easy, especially in the media world, to look at our phones, to keep our heads down. And I think coming here has helped me to keep my head up.
The city is expecting to see more protests in the coming days as people here hope to see this immigration enforcement operation come to an end. Donna?
Okay, Heather Yourex-West in Minneapolis, thank you. A disaster in the Philippines coming up. What witnesses are saying after a ferry carrying hundreds of people capsized. Israel says it has now recovered the remains of the final deceased hostage in Gaza. The remains of the Israeli police officer were found at a cemetery in northern Gaza. He was the last of the hostages slain or abducted by Hamas on October 7, 2023. His body has been returned to Israel. Hamas now says it has met all the terms of the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will now reopen Gaza's Rafah border crossing with Egypt. The next phase of the U.S. brokered ceasefire is set to involve disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. In the Philippines, a ferry carrying more than 350 people has capsized, killing at least 18 people, including an infant. 316 others were rescued after the boat sank just after midnight. The Philippine Coast Guard has deployed several ships to search for the missing. The cause is still under investigation. However, officials and witnesses say the ferry was dealing with technical problems just before it capsized. In Mexico, 11 people have been killed after gunmen stormed a soccer field in the city of Salamanca. The authorities say the gunmen arrived at the soccer field at the end of a match when they opened fire. At least 12 people were injured. Police are still trying to determine who was responsible for the attack, but the city's mayor says it's part of an ongoing crime wave as local gangs battle with a powerful drug cartel. Arctic sovereignty ahead, what Inuit leaders say the federal government needs to do now. Inuit leaders in Canada are 100% behind Greenland's right to sovereignty. President Donald Trump insists Denmark has not invested enough in Greenland to defend it from Russian and Chinese threats. Canada is vulnerable too and has long underinvested in the Arctic. Melissa Ridgen is with me now. Melissa, what exactly are Inuit leaders worried about?
Donna, Inuit leaders in Canada have long said that the country's history of locating Inuit to strategic locations to be used essentially as human flagpoles while not investing in infrastructure and security puts Canada's sovereignty in the region at risk. And with Trump's drive to take control of parts of the Arctic, they fear that Canada could be next on the list.
Inuit Nunangat, or the Inuit homeland, extends from the northern tip of the Yukon to the northern tip of Labrador and amounts to 40% of Canada's landmass. Leaders throughout are calling on Canada to act now, not wait for what the U.S. might have in store. Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami President Natan Obed tells the Canadian press he wants to meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney to make a plan to bolster security in the region. While experts say Canada has known for decades what it needs to do.
And the biggies are, of course, ultimately improve funding to DND, begin the NORAD modernization, get the F-35s, and begin the efforts to get the submarines. If the Americans are to become the enemy, if they are going to make the efforts to annex us, as Trump keeps saying he's going to, then that gives us a certain capability. You're not talking about defeating the Americans, but you're talking about hurting them bad enough that they think twice about it.
The Prime Minister's office won't say if the PM has spoken with Inuit leaders or when they'll meet, but they say Canada is steadfast in its commitment to Arctic sovereignty. Experts and Inuit all say that what's happening with the Arctic right now, there's no longer the luxury of time to act. Donna.
Okay, Melissa Ridgen in Winnipeg, thank you. Digging out next, Canadians lending a helping hand to their neighbors. In Canada, a bit of snow in January is not news. We all know what it's like to dig out. But when it snows as hard and heavy as it has in this storm, things can snowball, and not everyone has the strength to handle it alone. Sean O'Shea has been talking to people to find out how they're riding out this storm together. Sean.
Donna, Sunday's storm, one you don't see very often in Toronto, a real record breaker. We're in Scarborough, in the eastern part of the city. On this unplowed sidewalk, more than 40 centimeters of snow. Drive around just about any neighborhood and you'll see the same thing. The sounds of a serious storm cleanup the day after. Toronto residents digging out after the city was buried by a historic snowfall.
It's insane, man. Hey, it's Canada. What can I say?
Pierre Reese lives nearby.
The only thing I can say is thank goodness I have a snowblower.
Environment Canada predicted heavy snow for the Greater Toronto Area. But this winter blast was the most Toronto has seen since 1944. 11 days ago, the city was recovering from another deep dump. At the time, we met 99-year-old Zira Standish. The man she hired to clear her snow had just died, so she did it herself. Varun Sriskanda saw that Global News report and wanted to do something.
It's not just an inconvenience anymore. I think it's now become a hazard. It's a danger, right? We have fire, ambulance, paramedics, police. Everyone needs to get through.
Sriskanda brought a crew to clear Zira's driveway, free of charge, for the rest of the winter, as she kept watch from an inside window.
Thank you.
Zira put this snowfall in context.
This is the first time after many years that we have so much snow.
The snowfall was deja vu for Pierre Reese, who we also met before. Not just clearing his sidewalk, but storm drains and the fire hydrant out front. Are you sick of winter, Pierre?
Kind of, yes.
Trevor Eastman is unfazed by the task ahead.
I'm a Canadian, man. That's what we do. 100%.
Just across the street, Brian Catton is up for the task too. He showed us his backyard, where the snow is piled especially high. You're not going to see your lawn for a while.
No, don't care about that. I'd rather shovel than mow.
Public schools here remain closed today, as well as community centers and some businesses. The hope is that things will start to get back to normal on Tuesday, but digging out from this record-breaking snowfall, that's going to take at least a week. Donna.
Quite the workout. Sean O'Shea in Toronto. Thank you. That is Global National for this Monday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Glenside, Saskatchewan. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.